Hello everyone and welcome to Crypto Ripto. I'm Christian and today I've got a great video for you in the fact it's probably one of the most important videos that you'll watch coming up into this altcoin season stroke bull market. And that's something that a lot of people forget about because they're getting the euphoria, and that is taking profits. It is key to take profits no matter how large your portfolio grows. It is always important that you know the money is not in the bank until the asset is sold. And sometimes we get a bit euphoric, a bit wrapped up in the moment. We forget to sell, or the emotion, the greed kicks in and we think we're going to go higher and higher. And then before we know it, the market's crashed on us like it did back in May and we get caught with our pants down. But we don't want anyone on Crypto Ripto to have that happen to them. So I'm going to go through 5 key basic strategies that you need to have in your arsenal to get yourself ahead of the game in this next altcoin season and bull run. So if you're interested in making profits, money and cashing out and getting them important gains, stay tuned and let's get into the video. Welcome. So before I start, I have to say that anything you see, hear or choose to ignore in this video is not financial advice. No, this bad boy is here for your educational purposes only. And with me saying education, let's start by saying you must educate yourself in taking profit. Because like I said, the money is not in the bank until the asset is sold. So I'm going to go through 5 basic strategies that I use to take advantage of taking profit. Now, I'm not going to go diving into great detail in these. That I'm going to do in a part 2 video. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 5 key strategies on your radar for you to go away, research, digest, and start putting this plan of action together. So with that being said, let's jump into first strategy number 1, and that is plan the strategy. Boom. So as you can see, planning a strategy and having a vision is always the most important thing and number 1 you should do. You should write down what your strategy is. For instance, for me, if I'm buying a coin or a token for $1,000, when that token 1x's or hits that $1,000, I then look to what's called dollar cost averaging out. Now, there's more to this than just dollar cost averaging out, of course. But like I said, we'll go into the deep dive details in a part 2 of this video. But for the basics of this video, we have to say that, for instance, I would look at key areas in the target price after my token or coin is 1x and think, okay, I'm going to take out always on the way up, never on the way down, because you don't know where the bottom's going to be, is I'll take 10% out when it hits all-time high, or I'll take out 20% of the extra profits when it hits all-time high. Or people even think if it's 1x, I'll take out my original investment. Whatever works for you is your strategy. But it always is important to have this strategy of how you're going to exit and what percentage of exit you're going to do on the token or coin. Because for me, I like to take the 10% out in gradual, because when it's done a 1x and that token or coin has a potential to do, say, for instance, another 2-3x on top of that, I want to layer myself out. So I'm never going to be hitting bottoms and I'm never going to be hitting tops. But if I'm thinking I'm taking 10% out from the bottom to the top, then I've got 10 chances to hit a good average of what it is I'm taking out. And obviously with taking out 10% over 10 hits, the average is going to be that I'm not going to cash out at the bottom here. I'm going to be somewhere in the middle here, which is fine with me, you know, because that to me is probably another 50% on top of the 100% that I've already made. And any investment that you can do with as much little risk as you possibly can, and taking away 150% in my eyes is an absolute banger of an investment. But of course, you're going to look at the coin, you're going to weigh up the pros, the cons, the risk, etc. And if you're believing in that coin, you may only want to take away all of my initial investment, but then keep reinvesting 10% every time I see this token have a dip. That's fine as well, because obviously you're taking profits and reinvesting to do other profit. That is absolutely fine, but we'll get onto that on the strategy version. But for me, I think the target, the vision, to have a plan, the strategy is really important, because this is what you have to stick to. Otherwise, you'll start tearing off willy-nilly and you'll start getting yourself in a mess. You might start missing profits, you'll start losing money, and a whole world of crap can happen. And we don't want that to happen to anyone on crypto Ripto. So always sit down before you do anything, and that's plan a vision, a strategy of what you're going to do, what you're happy with. And you can research it, Google it, look at strategic traders and how they do it, but you've got to know what works well for you and your emotion. So that is tip number 1. Boom. So my tip number 2 is you've got your strategy in hand. You've got all them nice juicy gains, them big profits. The altcoin season's been here. We've had the best run. You've got your strategy in place. Now, how do we execute it? Well, first of all, what I do is I check the market. It's really important to actually check what it is your token's doing. Now, for me, and I know a lot of people like to say, okay, we'll do, for instance, if I was in Cardano, ADA, I would look at it, obviously, to ADA against USDT or USDC, but I'd also look at it against the Bitcoin pairing, because all altcoin pairings go against the Bitcoin. For instance, let me explain this. You might have been looking at a lot of charts, and you'd have looked at the Ethereum chart, the Binance chart, the kind of ADA chart, and you think, why are all these chart patterns exactly the same? And that's because you're comparing them not against to the daddy Bitcoin, you're comparing them to the USDT, which the Bitcoin's comparing to the USDT. So of course, they're always going to look the same or similar, because you really need to look at how that token or coin is doing against the BTC pairing. So that's number 1 to check on the market. Number 2, checking the market, you have to look at what the BTC is doing. So dominance. Is the BTC dominance high? Is it mid? Or is it low? Because this will be really important. And I will go into this in part 2. And I'll show you the charts and where BTC is and how it's looking. But in the meantime, you can Google and look into the BTC dominance. Because if BTC or Bitcoin is low in dominance, the altcoins are going to pump. If BTC is high in dominance, all the money's flowing into Bitcoin and it's dragging the money out the altcoins. If BTC is where it is right now today, in the middle, altcoins are going to do well because people know that Bitcoin's being boring. They tend to get a little impatient. They're not making the money or enough money they should do. So then they start falling into the pyramid cycle, which is trickling down all the altcoins in the top 20, the top 50, the top 100, and so on, or whatever altcoin takes their flavor. So it's always important to look at the Bitcoin dominance and look at the token you're looking to cash in, out of, and take profits off against the Bitcoin pairing. So that for me is tip number 2, check the market. Boom. Okay, strategy tip number 3. For me, this is really key, whether you're looking to day trade, invest, or whatever it is you're doing with your finance. It's important that you control your emotion. As Warren Buffett said, and I'm sure we've all heard of Warren Buffett, if you cannot control your emotion, you cannot control your money. And as our bad boy Wolf of Wall Street is saying here in this little clip above me, it is just business. Leave emotion at the door. Look at your finances as a business. Now, I know a lot of people say only invest money in crypto that you can afford to lose, but that's not always easier said than done, because sometimes can anyone in a position, unless you're absolutely Scrooge McDuck money bags, afford to lose any money? Yes, you might be able to lose it and it not affect your lifestyle and you can still put dinners on the table. But we're looking for a better life for ourselves. We cannot afford to lose the time. It's not just the money, it's the time associated with the money. And a lot of great YouTubers and investors don't tend to tell you this, or they don't know it themselves, or they miss it. For me, it's not always the monetary value. Yes, I can lose $10,000, but what I can't lose is the time in the bull market that I didn't cash out that $10,000. So for me, it's not as easy and said than done. So I want to control my emotions the best I can to make sure that I'm not trading silly on emotions, moving stop losses, changing out of my strategy, not listening to tip 1 and 2, and just literally going what they call rogue. And that, my friends, is something you do not want to do. So get your good strategy together, which you'd have on tip 1. check the markets, get your plan pumping, looking where you're going to cash in and out of that token, and then control your emotion. Because when we're euphoric, we get greedy. When we're a bit panicky, we have paper hands and we tend to sell too early. So we've got to get that fine balance in between and control our emotions. And that's really important. So that's tip number 3. Boom. So tip number 4. Now this one is very, very easier said than done. This one is an absolute struggle for a lot of top investors, never mind just yourself. And that is knowing when to sell and not getting too greedy and missing the exit. So this is where you have to be absolutely disciplined. You have to go in, you've done your strategy, you've done your check in the markets, you've got your emotions together. Now you have to actually know where you're going to sell. For instance, I have a plan set out in Cardano that's been pumping recently. And I know that Cardano's likely to hit, judging on past data. Obviously, I've not got a crystal ball, but I put in sell boxes as I do buy boxes of where Cardano's going to hit. And looking at Cardano's pattern, I know that once it hits these new all-time highs, it has a bit of a retracement. So that's where I know to put my exit strategy. Yes, the likelihood of Cardano going up more is there. And this is why this guy has missed the exit and his greed's taken over and he's charging forward. Don't let this be you. Don't be a Dave. Whatever you do, don't be Dave. You need to be smart. And a smart person sticks to the strategy and takes the exit. Because you've done all the hard work in tip 1, the hard work in tip 2, the hard work in tip 3, checking the market. Now we need to not stumble at the final hurdles. And tip 4 is knowing when to exit. So when you've checked that market, put in your exit buy box strategy, whether it be all-time highs, whether it be a price range that suits you, whether it be something, a tip, trick you've heard from someone else, whatever it is, make sure you hit the exit. You know the destination you want to go to, profit town. So make sure you take the right exit at the right junction. Yes, going straight ahead might cut 2, 3, 4 minutes off your journey, but you could also run into a lot of blockage, a lot of traffic, and you could be doing a reverse. So make sure to get to profit town, you take the right exit early enough in order to profit from them gains. Very important. Boom. And now we're on to the final tip. Obviously, like I said, it's not a deep dive in. It's not one of them that I'm going to show you my bags yet, but I am going to do that. I'm going to go in. I just want to get you fresh in the mind because the altcoin season is hit now. I want to get all my followers, my loyal fans, even if you're new to this channel, which if you are, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, tickle that bell notification so you know when part 2 comes out hot off the press. But I want you to make the best gains or have the best knowledge early enough to start putting this into action. If the coins start retracing next week, because Bitcoin's been trading sideways for a week, which it has been doing, you might be too late if you're not doing this kind of action and this kind of proactive cash out process now. And I want everyone to get on board of that. For instance, like I said in the last tip, I've already started taking profits out of ADA. I invested, as it says here. I took the profit as it said here, and I reinvested the profits according to my strategy. And I will tell you about my strategy when we dive in a bit deeper. But just giving you a sneak peek or a clip it or a spoiler, so to speak, one of my strategy was to reinvest into Bitcoin. So I've been buying Bitcoin all the way from the crash when it went to 28, all the way to where it is now at 48. So for the last 10,000 price range in Bitcoin, I've been taking some profits off tokens, coins, shark coins, good coins, whatever you can imagine I'm making profit on and pumping it into Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin's going to be the most stable, solid coin growing throughout this whole cycle. But of course, it doesn't grow fast enough for everyone. So we want to invest in some coins and tokens, take them profits as early as we can with the tips, tricks and strategies of 1, 2, 3 and 4 and reinvest that. Now, reinvesting is not for everyone. You might just want to hodl and sit on the fiat, well, this kind of stable coin and wait for the dip. But for me, I don't think that's wise, because I don't think we've seen the best of Ethereum or Bitcoin yet, and at least one of them two you should be looking to invest in to pump your bags even higher before we cash out completely before the bear market. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what your strategies are. Let me know what your investment tips are. A lot of people could do with a lot of help, tips and quality advice, because as you know, in this crypto market, or if you're any crypto Facebook groups, Reddit groups, there's a lot of divs out there. There's a lot of absolute morons that are just saying, when's Lambo? They've got the worst advice. They've done bad on their investments, so they want to shit on everyone else's. And that's not what we want at Crypto Ripto, because here everyone is pretty cool. I get a lot of love, feedback and warmth from everyone on here, and I want to give back as much to you as I give to myself. So all the stuff that I'm telling you in 1 to 5 is stuff that I do, and I can't wait actually to deep dive into that and show you video part 2 and really get into the nitty gritty. So I hope you've liked this video. I hope the roundup from 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 is something you can get your teeth into, go away and start putting into action. But of course, if you've got any questions, please leave a comment below. I'll try and answer all that I can, or follow me. My Telegram's on there. You can join in there, and I do chat on that daily because I look into all the other coins that I want to investment in. And if you want to know about these coins early, join the Telegram group because I do post them in there. Probably a lot of them before even launch day. So dive over there. The link's in about, or you can look at any of the information below and it'll tell you about the Telegram. But obviously, more importantly than that is, as we say here at Crypto Ripto, trade smart, trade safe, and don't get wrecked.